Looking after parents, elderly parents, can be a joy, a pleasure, a privilege, but it can also be really hard work. Now, we're going to start this video looking at one person, a story about one person. Now, I'm not going to give their names for their privacy, and there's actually no need to give their name or their relationship to me. It's about a man, but it could be about a man, a woman. It could be somebody that you know. This could be something that you're going through, or it could be something that you're looking down the barrel of a gun at. But I'll start with the stories to start with, just to give you some background to it. This man was born 94 years ago, and in those days, unlike today, the welfare state was practically non-existent. If you wanted to eat, you worked, and that was pretty much the end of it. Now, this man had a mum and dad, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be here, but he had a mother and father, and then he had a brother and 3 sisters. He wasn't the oldest boy, but he was elder than the girls. So that's the family dynamic to start with. But then the dynamic changed. The father just upped and left, leaving the family to fend for themselves. For whatever reason, I don't know the history of it, but he did. Now, this man had to learn quite a few hard lessons at a very young age, very quickly. And he did. He learned work ethic, he learned loyalty, he learned tenacity, values that would actually fare well for him for the rest of his life. He would go out and he would hitch up horse for the milkman. The milk cart was pulled by a horse and carriage, and he'd hitch up the horse and he'd help with the milk round. Then he would go and maybe poach some salmon. He started by trapping rabbits, but ended up breeding some rabbits, so there would be meat on the table. He was, from an early age, a provider. And I think he loved that title. He loved that title. It was part of who he was, right up until present day. Later on in life, he married. He had 2 daughters and a son himself. He provided for them. He started a business, hard in the early years, but he worked extremely hard at that. And he built their own home, with his own bare hands, with the help of maybe a bricklayer or something here and there. But all the plumbing and things like that, he did it all himself. He actually built that. He bought a patch of land and he built that house for them. That house is still with his partner today. She still lives there. It's been a family home, a total and utter. It's almost like this cornerstone, and the house is the cornerstone because that's the home for the family, and he was the cornerstone within that house. He's a tremendous guy, a tremendous guy. He loves a little bit of banter. He can take the mickey out of you as quickly as you can take it out of him. He is healthy. Physically, he was strong from working so hard, but he would also garden. He would go walking. He loved bowls in later life, green grass bowls, not 10-pin bowling, but green grass bowling. And they travelled all over the place doing that. He had a good diet. His wife is a tremendous cook, but all of their food was freshly prepared and healthy. And then something happened. He needed a stent to his heart. Looking back now, I guess, if somebody said to me a few years ago, how do you think that man is going to die? I would probably say from some sort of heart failure. Although he didn't deserve that, as I said, he was healthy, he exercised, he worked hard, he did all the good things, and he ate well. So he didn't really deserve it, but that was his lot, and he accepted it. He worked with what he got. Then a few years ago, as a family, it was noticed that there were forgetful moments. Now, today he's 94 years old. He's bound to have forgetful moments. I'm 63. I have them every day. Sometimes I walk upstairs, forget why I went upstairs, walk back downstairs, remember why I went down, why I went upstairs in the first place. That's a regular thing. I think that just comes with age. But this was different. He was putting stuff away in the wrong place and looked confused when he would open a drawer. You might ask him for a spoon and he would open the drawer and you know that the cutlery is in that drawer, and he would look confused about it. There were little telltale signs. Now the youngest daughter, who is a nurse, took him to see the doctor, and through a process of elimination it was decided that, or diagnosed, that he had vascular dementia. And that vascular dementia has been one hell of a journey. One hell of a journey. Sometimes it progressed slowly, then there would be a drop, then it would progress slowly or decrease slowly, and then there would be another drop. There was no telling as to when or why that might happen. But eventually, he needed care. He couldn't dress himself, he was a little bit incontinent, couldn't wash, couldn't shave, not without direction. So if you put a meal in front of him and you gave him his knife and fork, he could manage that and eat. But there were certain things that you could just notice the depletion. I noticed one day he had the newspaper upside down, but he was still going through his routine of reading the newspaper in the morning. And it was sad to see. It was sad to see. It got to a stage where, again, the youngest daughter practically moved in, would sleep there every night. Bed was moved downstairs, and he was cared for at home. Now, I'm not going to go through all the ins and outs of that, because I think we all know what caring for somebody is like. What became obvious to me at that point, and it's something we're going to come back to later, is the inequality of who does what. As I said, he had 3 children, a son and 2 daughters, and it appeared to me from early doors that 90% of the care was done by one daughter and 10% was shared by the other 2. Now, I've since learned that that's quite a normal thing within not normal maybe, normal. It's normal within families. It happens more often than it doesn't happen. If you are in a similar situation and you've got siblings that all share the workload, you're in a very, very lucky position, apparently. So, anyway, going back to the story, things progressively got worse. He was quite difficult to deal with, and yet he'd never been a difficult man. He was the most mild-mannered, easy to get on with person. It became a little bit difficult. Very, very tiring, particularly for the one daughter, but the family as a whole were getting tired. And help started to come into the house, but that was no good because he rejected them. And in dementia, some people talk about aggression. To me, it's not aggression. It's just that they don't understand when some stranger is trying to undress them. What the heck's going on? So it's not aggression. They're just, fighting for their own, to keep their own personal space. It's a heck of a journey. But at some point, the family did need to make a decision. They weren't coping. They possibly could have coped a little bit longer if everybody had pulled together, but that wasn't the case. So he moved to a home, a dementia care home. And that's where he is today. He's still alive, and still looks well, but now his verbal skills have all gone. He can say a sentence that's totally irrelevant. Sometimes he can say a sentence that's really clear, and you think, oh, wow. And then you realize the next sentence doesn't correlate with the first sentence. The wires in his brain aren't putting everything together. There's just like snippets of information that are coming to him, and he is trying to process them, but they're not all going together like a jigsaw. It's like putting the jigsaw pieces in the wrong places. It's just so sad to see. So sad to see. Which is hard on the family. It really is hard on the family. So that's the story so far. But how do we move on from here? So with the home, he's continued to deteriorate, and the next part, I guess, that we should talk about. Sorry about the traffic. The next bit that we should talk about really is emotional effect on the family. In truth, I can only speak with great knowledge about one of the members of the family, one of the daughters, the one that does 90% of the work. And I can describe it, but I don't know if I can portray the whole picture. She is looking at the father. She is a daddy's girl. She is a totally daddy's girl. She adores and worships the ground he walks on, and he deserves it. He has been a great father to all three of them, but as I said, I want to specifically talk about the emotions of one person because I don't want to put words into other people's mouths. First of all, she is devastated because it's almost like two losses. She's lost the father she knows already, and she's also got this anticipatory grief, knowing that at 94 she hasn't got him for much longer in the physical sense. There is part of her who wants him to live forever, and there is a part of her that wants him to be at peace, because we all know him well enough to know that he wouldn't want to be putting his family through it, all of this, and he wouldn't be like to be seen the way that people are seeing him at the moment. We know that. So it's a mix of emotions. It's an emotion whereby you can look at him, but he's not there. He's just not there. It's possibly the most cruel disease imaginable. My mum died of cancer. We understood what cancer was. We knew that she was time limited and she passed away, and we understood that. When my father passed away, he had a lung disease. We knew he wasn't long for the world. It was just almost accepted. He was nearly 90 when he died. My mother was a different kettle of the fish. I was 13 when she died. That was devastating within itself. But I feel that for this daughter, it's even more devastating because it's almost like Chinese water torture. It's like a drip effect. It's bloody awful. Whilst you're dealing with that, you are also dealing with the home, with the NHS, the medical people. You're dealing with the council, you're dealing with social services, you're dealing with other government departments. Not one of those departments talk to each other. You have to be the conduit for everything. And there's also a case to say that nobody will come up to you and say, well, look, your father's got this is what's available to him. Absolutely none of that. You've got to go and you've got to research, you've got to make phone calls. And I don't know what it's like in America, Canada, Australia, whatever, but in the UK, if you phone up a government department, you're an hour waiting to get through to be told that that person is not in today. So you phone up the next day, you're an hour waiting to get through. The time it takes is unbelievable. During the height of all this, while we were trying to get sorted out, I would suggest something in the region of 30 hours a week on the phone. Horrendous. In fact, this particular daughter I'm talking about, you can probably imagine our relationship, but this particular daughter we're talking about, I'm encouraging that after her father's days, she works for a charity helping people through it, because it is a minefield, an absolute minefield to go through. So that's the first stage. Then there's the emotional side of the family, or family support, or the lack of family support. Do you feel let down? Do you feel that you're the only one that's... Sometimes you must feel like you're the only one that cares. You're not, but you feel like that because of the lack of communication. And then comes your own personal relationship with your partner. You could turn round to them and say, how do you feel? You didn't sign up for all of this. And the answer could be, if you've got a good partner, the answer could be, I signed up to you and this is part of you. Having said that, maybe your partner can't cope with all the changes. It's sad, it's all sad. There is a way around that though. And it's a simple way around it. Communication is absolute key. If you feel something, you say it. You don't hold it inside you, you let it all out. Particularly in the partner relationship. One listens, one speaks. Simple as that. And I don't mean hears, I mean really listens. Listens to what they're having to say. Speaking as a partner, that in itself is difficult, because when you see your partner hurting and you can do nothing about it, it's totally out of your hands. All you can do is support them, and then you feel that the support isn't enough because they still feel so awful. And it's an awful thing. But all you can do is promise yourselves as a partnership. You can promise yourself, or promise yourselves as a family, that you will take one step forward each time, keep walking forward until you reach the clearing, because there will be a clearing at some point. And that's important. It is important that you keep going, keep talking, and then move forward. The more of you there are together, or the more of you that are working together as a team, the easier it is to push forward. If it's just down to you and a partner, then you form that team and you make a really close bond. You talk a lot, you cry a lot, you listen a lot, and you just keep moving forward, because I can promise you faithfully that there always is light at the end of the tunnel. Now in that case you could say, well, what's the light at the end of the tunnel? That's them passing, the person passing away, and then you don't have to care for them anymore. Yeah, you've got to go through grief. But they say that grief has so many stages. I think it was 7 stages. But when you're doing this whole dementia thing, it doesn't have to be dementia. I keep talking about dementia because that's a circumstance I'm talking about, but it could be any illness. You don't need to understand it, but you do need to accept it. You need to accept the fact that there are so many things you can't accept. It's difficult to accept, but you have to, because it drives you mad. Let's talk about finance for just a moment. I'm not going to harp on about finance, but keeping somebody in a care home is really expensive. In the UK, it's £4,500 a month. And yet, you see people in the care home who've never put any pennies away, and etc., etc., and they get it for free. The whole system is madness itself. But don't let that worry you. Your circumstances, just move forward with them, accept them, because you're not going to change them. We've battled, and the battles take you nowhere. So where do we go from here? Well, I think where we go from here is actually what I've just been talking about, is you keep moving one step at a time. You don't really have a choice. We know that we're going to lose him soon because of his age, or we don't want to lose him. We know, on the other hand, to a certain extent, we've already lost him, which is the saddest thing, as I said. But the one thing to do is to make sure you're communicating. I've already mentioned it, and I'm mentioning it again simply because it's so important. Talk to each other. Really talk. I've said it so many times because it's so important. And then one other thing before I go. Know that you're not alone. You're far from alone. If anybody wants to reach out or through the comments, please do. And if we can communicate that way, not necessarily all your details but maybe there's a way that we can communicate outside the comments. I'm not too sure how we do that yet, but I'd be more than willing to do it. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's not, you know. I'm going to go back, before I go, I'm going to go back. If perhaps you've lost a parent, I don't know. Do you know what, my mum has been dead now 50 years. 50 years. My father's been dead about 8 years. There isn't a day that goes by I don't think about them. And 99% of the time when I think about them, I've got a big, huge smile on my face. So that's what I'm looking forward to my partner having in the future, a big smile on her face, remembering all the good times. Because the wonderful thing, you know, I'm not religious, but the wonderful thing is that nobody can take those memories away from you. They're your memories, and they're in here. The person that you're losing or have lost is still in there. It can't be taken away. It's a fantastic situation to be in. Not the ideal. The ideal would be to have them all the time. Let me know in the comments where you're at on this journey. If it's something that you're anticipating, whether it's something you're going through. Maybe there are some pointers that you'd like to point in my direction that help me through it, or my family through it. But whatever happens, until the next video, you take good care of yourself. Come on, big boy.